Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to discuss value added tax simple question because most of the students requested to understand the basic calculation, how VATs work, right? Input and output. The first of all, I thought before moving to um, this question is chartered intermediate level BL7 subject, the study pack 1 question, right? So before moving to that, let me introduce little how the VAT work, right? So companies they make sales, right? So basically, in order to make sales, they do purchases as well. So they might have inputs and also they create outputs, right? So basically, it's kind of a business life cycle. If I this one I explained it, this one again previously also I'm just explaining again. So if you see the business life cycle, input, right? Input, here the process, right? And here output, right? Output. So input, what are the inputs you get? You get purchases, right? You purchase purchase raw material or the whatever the things you, let's say you get raw material you purchase and you do some process in order to make the output, right? So the finally you sell it. Once you finish, this is sale of, I would say sale of finished good, purchase of raw material, and finally you will sell finished good. So when you're making sales, so sales, it's connected to output. In VAT law, you can easily understood what it is. Sales always connected to output. That is, you can easily understand in this way, output, output tax or output VAT. You can say output tax. This is connected to sale. If it is purchase, it's connected to input. We can easily remember input, input VAT, or input tax, right? So this is how you need to remember. Let's say you purchase 100 worth of raw material, right? You did some value addition during the process and you are going to sell this one into 200, right? So when you are purchasing this 100, right? This raw material you paid VAT 18. Then total cost was 118, right? And then you are making sales this one into the VAT rate of 18%. Then 200 into 18, 36. 236, right? This is your total consideration. Then this is the value of supply you purchased and you paid VAT, input VAT paid, and the total consideration. This is your sales amount, right? Hope this is clear. Then how to do the calculation part on this transaction in for this particular company. So, right, and then how to do the calculation for this particular company, right? You take sales. How much sales? 200, right? Right. Then the VAT rate is 18%. You collect VAT on sales 36. Here I would say, right? I will write down like this. Sales we call output. Output, output tax, right? So then what you can do is you can deduct purchases, purchases, right? Then call input, input tax paid when you are purchasing raw material or whatever the things which are connected to the business, right? ගෙදර දොර ගත්ත වියදම් input විදියට කම්පැනියෙන් අඩු කරන්න බෑ. So whatever the things we are connected to the business. And also when you are claiming inputs, there are some criteria it should be. You need to have a valid tax invoice, right? and also it should contain the, as I discussed in a separate video, valid tax invoice, what are the contents, right? You need to verify those things, and it should be within time frame 12 months if it is tax invoice, if it is cash deck within 24 months, right? So there are certain criteria to meet. I will discuss in a separate video those criteria, right? Then you can claim, if these criteria are satisfied, this you can claim this 18 what you paid when you are purchasing raw material. මේ බඩු ටික ගනිද්දි කියපු VAT එක ඔයාලට claim කරන්න පුළුවන්. කොච්චරක් purchase කරාද කියන value එක දාන්න අවශ්‍යම නැහැ, right? So if you can declare, that's fine, right? 18, right? You paid VAT when you are purchasing this much. Effectively, you are paying VAT 18 million, let's say, right? This is, I would say, balance VAT payable, right? Balance VAT payable 18, right? Why? That is the name called value added tax. You are paying VAT to the value addition effectively. Then how much you value added to this particular raw material, then this is the VAT component. So if you directly compute this one, how much value addition into 18%, you will end up with 18 million, right? Don't compute like this, but in the exam you need, or in the practically, you need to compute what I did on this way, right? The calculation, you need to take sales, how much you did issue invoice, tax invoice, and then you can deduct on your purchases claimable inputs, right? Claimable inputs you can deduct, and then if there any balance you need to pay. This is the very basic example in order to understand how that works, right? So now let's look at this question as well, right? So this question, Singh Brothers is a manufacturing of food products. Calculate balance tax payable for the quarter ended 31st December 2023 with the following information, right? So first of all, you need to have some sort of idea what are the VAT rates available, right, for this particular period. So currently you all are aware current VAT rate is 18%, right? But for some exams, if you are doing for the previous period, you need to be mindful. But some exam they will provide applicable VAT rate is 18% or applicable VAT rate is 15%. Otherwise, if it is not declared, if it is belong to this particular period, right? Most of the cases your exam questions come under this period because, right? So if it is so, if the quarter in the VAT question says quarter ending 31st December or prior to that, you need to apply 15%, right? It's very clear, right? For the currently, if you get any question after this, right, 31st December, from 1st January 2024 onward, the applicable VAT rate is 18%, right? So VAT on financial service 18%, from with effective from 1st January 2022, right? All other cases 18% now, right? So anyone who are watching this video to in order to get some understanding of that, so yes, you are dealing with current context. You need to consider VAT rate is 18%, right? In other cases, if you are doing exam purpose, you need to be mindful. This table you need to take a screenshot and keep it in mind what are the VAT rate available for your exam. So mostly you will get these two, right? Either for this period, you need to remember if it is before 2023, right? First of 31st December 2023 or prior to that, 15%. And or if it is the question says any quarter belongs to 2024, just apply 18%, right? In this question, this study pack, right? It says 31st December 2020, 31st December 2023, 3. In that case, the applicable VAT rate is 15%. So how to calculate? So let's look at, you are required to calculate balance VAT payable for the quarter, right? Right. So what you need to do is, if you wish, you can write down something about the trust. So in your answer sheet, right? Balance VAT payable for the quarter ended this date, right? So these are not mandatory for exam, right? Not like advanced levels. So because you know, uh, you will not get any mark for these things when you are writing. So if you are struggling with the time, skip these parts, just focus on the calculation, right? So then as you are aware, you company, they do have two parts, sales and purchases, right? For sales, you will have what? Output. Output tax. Uh, since you are familiar with VAT name, I will put output VAT, right? You will have output VAT. When purchase, if you are doing purchase, I would say input. Since you are familiar with the name for the VAT, I will input like this. So then always remember, whatever that payment you made, you can deduct from your output, right? It's clear. Hope this is visible, right? Right. Going to the question, right? Total sales, value of supply including VAT, 3.5 million, right? Value of supply including VAT. Then this figure include the VAT component as well, right? This figure include the VAT component as well. Then if you want to segregate this, I would say then the value VAT, right? VAT rate, I would say VAT rate, VAT amount, right? You can also be familiar with this format, right? So it's easy. You do the calculation part in the exams, right? So like this, right? So here, sales, right? How much? Total value of supply. Even if you can mention total sale or value of supply, that's fine, right? Value of supply in the sense value of sales. Supply කියන්නේ sales කියන එකට තියෙන different name for as per the value added tax act, right? Supply means sales, right? Value of supply. විකුණුම් වටිනාකම. How much? Here inclusive, right? The value inclusive. Then you need to, if in here, if I say 108, so here in this question 15 is the VAT rate, we always need to declare the value as 100. If you get 115, you need to take 100, and the VAT rate in this case, in this particular period, because December quarter ended 31st December 2023, then the VAT would be 15, right? So this is how you need to identify. You need to create your mindset how you need to allocate each component into the figure into each component. 115 is how much? 100 is how much? 15% into what is the applicable rate and what is the 15, right? In the given question, it says 3.552 is the 150 inclusive amount. Here, inclusive, VAT inclusive figure, right? Inclusive figure. Then what you need to do is, in order to get 100, you need to divide it by 115 multiplied by 100. Then you will get this figure, right? Right. Then, in order to get the VAT component, you just need to, sorry, here applicable VAT rate for this section is 15%. If you multiply it by this, you will get this is the VAT component, right? So if you add these two, you will end up with this figure, right? If you add these two, you will end up with 150, right? It's clear now? The same thing here. If you add these two, 100 and 115, you will end up with here 115, right? It's clear. Right? This is the VAT amount, right? First part is done. Excess input credit for the quarter ended 30th September 2023, 28,000. Previous period input tax credit carried forward, right? Carried forward input from the previous quarter. Then I would say brought forward input in this quarter. Brought forward input tax credit. How much? 28,000. 28,000. Right? And then what else you have? This is because any excess input tax carried forward from the previous quarter, you can take it, right? You can take it. Then raw material purchase from the registered person. How much? Raw material purchase. 1 million. Plus VAT. Raw material purchase from registered person. Then purchases under that raw material, how much? It's given amount is 1 million, right? It's, you can see it's 100, right? Without VAT. Applicable VAT rate, 15. Then if you multiply it by 15, you will get 150,000, right? So I would take these things little here, right? Then you can easily sum up, right? So you need to remember 100 is how much? 15, 15, how much, right? If it is inclusive, you need to be mindful. Again, something like this, right? It's apply everywhere, right? You need to remember that value is how much, right? If it is inclusive, take it somewhere here, right? This is, I'm just putting, it is not mandatory in order you to understand properly, right? It's no need to write it down in the exam, right? Or when you are doing any calculation, right? This is 100, 15%, and this is the amount. Then raw material from non-VAT registered person, right? If you purchase any raw material from non-VAT registered person, will you receive VAT invoice? No, right? You will receive just invoice, right? Raw material from non-VAT registered person, 600, right? Raw material from non-VAT registered person, 600. Will there be any VAT application? No. No VAT application, right? Just the amount. But this is not even required to declare. For in the exam, students, I just mentioned in order to get marks, because in the examiner, when they are marking the paper, they will look at whether you are aware on this, and they will allocate mark on writing this, right? They make sure you are writing this and show your knowledge. This is not applicable for VAT, right? And transport service obtained from VAT registered person, 33. Then transport service obtained from VAT registered person, 33,300. From VAT registered person, right? 33 with VAT. It says with VAT. With VAT. You need to be mindful now, right? 33 is include with VAT, right? Transport service obtained from VAT registration person with VAT 33,300. It's include with VAT. It is 150, right? Then in order to get 100, you just need to multiply it by 100, right? Divided by 115, multiplied by 100, right? Then applicable VAT rate for inputs also, assuming that applicable rate is 15%, this much you will get as VAT input paid for transport service, right? Obtained from VAT registered person. Since it is inclusive, you need to identify as 115. It's include the VAT component, and once you remove the VAT component, this is the figure. Once you add this one, you will end up with 33,300, right? Then transport service obtained from non-VAT registered person, 25,000, right? Transport service from non-VAT registered person. Non-VAT registered person, 25,000. Just declare that you know no VAT component applicable for this transaction, right? Then your total output would be how much? Total output would be this much. Total output. Right? Yeah, I would say total output, right? Then you can deduct inputs. Then how much is the total input? I'm just deleting these lines because now you're familiar. Otherwise, I will keep it. Right. I will total load forward one and this and this and this. So actually this minus, I'm not, because there is no any application for that. Only that claimable things are these three, right? So then you take it this one as total input, right? Then input tax, total input tax is claimable input tax because you can deduct from output, right? Since it is less than 100% of the output, right? You always need to remember whether this figure is higher than input, right? If it is higher than this, right? Then definitely you can claim entire amount, right? You need to make sure output is bigger than the input, right? Right? Then the output, you need to make sure whether the output is higher than the input. Then you can claim, then you can claim 100% of input, right? Otherwise, there is a way you need to claim only maximum limited to 100% of the output. Balance you need to carry forward, right? Let's say if you had a here 100,000, right? 100,000, 115,000, let's say 115,000. Then you can claim only here 115. The total output you will declare as here. Then total input tax and claimable input tax limited to 100% of output. How much? 100, 550,000. Then the balance you need to carry it forward to next quarter. This one you need to carry it forward to next quarter, right? You need to carry forward this amount to next quarter, right? Then you are claiming only 150, this amount. Then 115 minus 115, this nullify, then you will end up with 0, right? How it's calculated like this, right? Then the balance VAT payable would be 0. Not for this scenario, I'm just creating for example for you to understand how the carried forward things work, right? Balance VAT payable, right? Balance VAT payable 0, right? Here, if you had a very lower input, right? Very lower output, then you can claim only maximum amount. It is limited to 100% of the output. So in our scenario, we can claim entire amount because in our scenario, why we have 163 output, then entire amount we can claim, then we can claim minimum of the either this one or this one, right? Then no carried forward. You are claiming this amount, right? You are claiming this amount. Then balance amount, how much? Balance VAT payable is 280,961, right? This is the balance VAT payable in this question, right? So you need to make sure when you are making the payment, right? Also, some cases here 160 in practical scenarios, right? Not the exam. So the practical scenario 160.687, since it is rounded up, that's fine, right? So some other cases where most people get penalties on underpayment, let's say here 160.45, right? If you rounding up, right, you will end up with 160, right? Then you are underpaying VAT 45 cents, right? Because you didn't aware that 45 cents, you just automatically get 960, right? Then you are underpaying how much? You didn't aware that 45 cents was there, but you create a check, right? You generate a check for the company to pay this amount, 960. Then underpayment is how much? This. Then IRD will impose penalty, let's say 10%, right? 10% of the tax payable on default tax of 45 cents. Therefore, make sure always even 1 cent, if it is there, you need to add a 1 rupee. Then most of us are familiar to even less than 50 cents, you are rounding up, or you just put 1 rupee at the end, right? Then you will not penalize anywhere, right? So that is an additional trick which I shared in practical perspective. For exam perspective, don't worry about that, right? So this is the basic VAT computation, right? Then the very basic calculation which is given in the study text, right? For intermediate level, the basic level, right? So I hope this understood. You can understand really easy in this way. Hope you got familiar with this question. If you have any doubt, you can share your question on the comment below, right, in this video, and I will come up with another video to explain another VAT scenario you to understand it very easily VAT thing and get higher mark for your exam. And also if you are dealing with tax matters as a profession, right? I hope this will help you to get familiar with that things, right? And thank you very much and see you in another video. Thank you.